And welcome into this edition of ACAP Today for the week of February 14th, 2022. I'm Jason Parent with the Aroostook County Action Program. On this week's program, we're going to talk about restorative justice and the practice here in Aroostook County with a couple of ACAP employees who work on it each and every day here in Aroostook County. We'll learn more about what restorative justice is all about in the feature interview on this week's edition of ACAP Today. But before we get to that, we go, as we usually do in this point in the broadcast, to the news and information that you can use. And we will begin with our news segment this week by sharing with you first and foremost about a program that we've been talking about for a number of weeks and months here on ACAP Today, and that's the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. But we are partnering with the Restorative Agency on Aging at this time to help more seniors who live in an apartment apply for this program. The reason for that is we're hearing throughout the community about seniors who are having difficulty paying their utility bills with the increased cost of electricity, increased cost of fuel oil. The rental assistance program or emergency rental assistance program is available to all individuals who rent who meet the income qualification guidelines. And here in Aroostook County, we believe that most seniors meet the income qualification guidelines. We're really encouraging seniors who are challenged with their high cost of electric utilities and other utilities at this point to consider an application in this program. We have been working with our partners at Maine Housing and the Aroostook Agency on Aging to verify that this will not be counted, any benefit in the emergency rental assistance program will not be counted toward your household income. So it will not make you ineligible or change your status for other programs like the home energy assistance program. The reason that is because any benefit goes directly to your landlord. So if you get rental assistance, it will go directly to your landlord. If you get assistance paying your electric bill, it will go directly to the electric utility. So the money never touches the hands of the seniors, but it does help in terms of those additional expenses at this time. We are encouraging seniors who want to access the application online to go to mainrentrelief.com. If you want help completing that application, we have individuals on our reception team that are standing by to complete that application for you online. They will do the application with you over the phone. Give us a call at 764-3721, and we will help you complete that application online. You can choose to apply for rental assistance or just utility assistance or both. And we are encouraging seniors at this point to qualify to apply for whichever makes them comfortable or both. If you are looking for a reimbursement for internet services, however, you must apply for rental assistance as well. But our team will help talk you through all that. So again, if you have any questions or would like to complete the application over the phone, call us at 764-3721. Again, this is for seniors who rent in Aroostook County. We move on now to share with you that we are working to address the crisis that is homelessness in Aroostook County at this point. Between individuals that are currently living at Homeless Services of Aroostook and others that are housed in hotels across Aroostook County, there are more than 100 individuals across the region who are currently experiencing homelessness. And so we have partnered with the Aroostook County Homeless Stakeholders Group and the Sister Mary O'Donnell Shelter operated by Homeless Services of Aroostook to extend services in our Hope and Prosperity Resource Center. We will be open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. while the homeless shelter transitions to becoming an emergency overnight shelter and families are moved into hotel rooms in Aroostook County so that we can accommodate more individuals who are experiencing homelessness at this time. Our Hope and Prosperity Resource Center that serves as the day center and will take individuals that come over from the Sister Mary O'Donnell Shelter each day will include meal service, but also working with the individuals to help them gain employment, to help them gain more permanent housing, and with other services. We are turning to the community if they can help in any way. We encourage you to reach out to us here at ACAP if you'd like to be part of the meal train or donate any snacks or provide any services or even volunteer on site. If you have any interest, please give us a call. You can call 764-3721, and we would be happy to assist you in how you can help volunteer or support the work of the Hope and Prosperity Resource Center. We also encourage folks to reach out to the Sister Mary O'Donnell Shelter and Homeless Services of Aroostook to provide assistance with them as well. They will be doing the evening meal and providing overnight accommodations for individuals staying there. The next homebuyer education class offered by ACAP kicks off on January 19th, this coming Saturday, between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. It's completely virtual. We do have some slots left in the Homeworks homebuyer education class for this Saturday. We encourage you to reach out to Dawn Whipke. The phone number and information is there on your screen, or just give us a call here at ACAP at our main office number and ask for homebuyer education, and we'll help get you registered for this class. Now, the benefits to this class are many, but among them is that the participants may be eligible for up to $3,500 through the Maine Housing Advantage program if you qualify financially, that could be used toward closing costs or down payment. There are no financial requirements for participating in the program. Anybody can participate in the program, and there are benefits to any homeowners or prospective homeowners that participate in the class. Again, there's a small fee to participate, but the benefits on the other end certainly do outweigh that. So again, if you're interested, reach out to us here at ACAP and get registered for this Saturday's upcoming class, the first of the new year. We want to also acknowledge our partners at Madawaska Elementary School, a site, 5210 Let's Go site. ACAP is the provider of 5210 Let's Go services here in Aroostook County. And there was a wonderful winter wellness day that was held recently on January 28th, where fun was had by all. That included skiing, sledding, ice skating, and snowshoeing, all kinds of outdoor activities, and in partnership with our 5210 Let's Go program. If your school or nutrition program, early care and education site, or a healthcare practice even would like to register to be part of fun like that was had at Madawaska Elementary School on January 28th, we encourage you to reach out to Renee Bragdon here at ACAP. Her phone number and email address are there on your screen. You can also call our main number and ask to speak to Renee or the 5210 Let's Go program, and we'll be happy to connect you. We also want to share some new news with you in terms of home COVID-19 tests that are available here in Aroostook County. We've been sharing with you in recent weeks that there are free tests, up to 4 tests available for each address through the covidtest.gov website. If you haven't ordered yours already, we encourage households to do that if you are feeling that you will need a COVID test for any reason in the coming weeks. But we also have learned of a new program in partnership with the state of Maine and the Rockefeller Foundation that are allowing folks to access an additional 5 tests through a kit that they are making available now. There are only select communities in Aroostook County that have been included in this program for various reasons, vulnerability index and COVID-19 rates. Those communities include Caribou, Holton, Grand Isle, Limestone, Monticello, Presque Isle, and Smyrna at this point. They have been adding communities, so we encourage folks to continue to check in on that site. But again, accesscovidtest.org will get you free tests, 5 tests sent to your address if you live in one of the communities I just mentioned. We encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity as well. Speaking of COVID-19 and vaccination opportunities here in Aroostook County, we encourage folks, if you have not been boosted or if you are in need of your initial vaccination, to please go to the maine.gov COVID-19 vaccine website and see what available locations are around this area. You can also request a free ride to a vaccine site by calling the Department of Health and Human Services, which will do that with a 48-hour notice and help get you connected to those sites. Number and information is there on your screen. You can also reach out to ACAP and we will help you get connected with a local vaccination site. Our team of receptionists have been helping individuals connect with vaccine sites since the early days of the vaccines about a year ago. We also want to share with you that this is a growing program that we've been helping a number of Aroostook County households with, and that's the COVID-19 community supports, where we can do a grocery delivery or provide you other assistance for individuals who are asked to quarantine or to safely isolate as a result of a close contact or a COVID-19 positive test result. You can access this service by giving us a call here at ACAP or going directly to the Community Care for Social Support site of Maine DHHS. If you just Google it, community supports for COVID, you will get sent to the link here in Maine through Maine DHHS, and you can complete the application right online. If you have family or relatives in other parts of the state who might also need this service, with their permission, you can go online and register them for that free delivery service, and their local community action agency will reach out to do a delivery to their home. But again, if you are in need of this service, we encourage you to reach out. There is no cost, and no financial eligibility requirements in terms of accessing this particular service. We also are reminding folks that tax season is here, and in our partnership with other organizations, nonprofit organizations throughout Aroostook County, and under the sponsorship of the County Federal Credit Union, the Aroostook Cash Coalition is offering free tax appointments, free tax preparation appointments to any household with an income of less than $58,000. If you'd like to make an appointment, they're being booked now through the month of middle of April. You can dial 211 and make that appointment with and through 211 or at cashmain.org. Now, we are scheduling appointments in Central Aroostook at this time. The appointments up in Fort Kent and down in Holton have all been booked for this season, but good news is you can do it electronically, and we will accept your documents at either our Fort Kent, Madawaska, Presque Isle, or Holton locations. Make arrangements to do that by dialing 211 Main. We'll scan the documents for you, and your tax preparation will be done remotely, and folks will be in contact with you as they're working on your taxes. So you're not out of luck if you're in the Valley or in Southern Aroostook. Just because the appointments at your site are booked, there is an alternative of a virtual completion of that tax documentation. So please don't despair if you don't have any appointments available to you in your local area. There are other alternatives. Project Teach is something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago with the lead on that program, Andrea White. This is a new program being offered by ACAP in partnership with the Maine Cancer Foundation through a grant, a generous grant that we received through them. And it's essentially designed to help individuals who are facing challenges attending oncology appointments. So if you have a cancer diagnosis here in Aroostook County and are required to do treatment, whether it's in the area or outside of the area, we encourage you to contact us. There are no income guidelines for this program. In addition to connecting you with resources that will help you get to and from your appointment, Andrea will also help connect you with services here at ACAP that you may be eligible for, especially if your household income has changed as a result of you're needing required time to go get treatment or the like. So please do give us a call if you are facing a cancer diagnosis at this time and are in need of treatment. We would love to be able to connect with you and figure out how we can lighten the burden there a little bit through Project Teach. The Home Energy Assistance Program is something we talk about each and every week, but now is a really good time to book an appointment. Even though the heating season is on its waning side at this point, we still have some cold temperatures yet to come. And we also want to remind folks that any benefit that goes on your account will stay there for 18 months or until it has expired. The income guidelines that you see there on your screen have changed, especially in the last couple of years, and have increased. Another thing that's changed is if your household has been income impacted negatively, in particular, in just the last month, we can do a 1-month look back. It used to be that the minimum look back was 3 months. So if you faced a cutback in hours or a layoff or any change in your household income for whatever reason, please give us a call and book a HEAP appointment for this coming season. We will be taking appointments into July for this season. And again, even though the funds would land to your fuel vendor's account this winter, if there's still money there, you can use it next fall when the heating season begins again. And again, as we remind you each week, if you are in need of any assistance that we haven't discussed here in the more than 40 programs ACAP offers, we encourage you to reach out to us and connect with a navigator. The navigator can also help you connect with other services offered by other social service agencies or state departments here in Aroostook County. Give us a call at 764-3721 if we can help you in any way at this time. And that's this week's news and information that you can use. I'm pleased now to welcome two guests to the program. I believe they're both first-time guests to ACAP Today, and this is a first-time topic we're going to be talking about in depth here today, the restorative justice concept, but also County Restorative Practices, which is a program here of ACAP. And I'm so pleased to welcome to the program Brandi Reischer, who is the program manager for County Restorative Practices, and also Brandi Perry, who's a community educator who works collaboratively with Randy and a host of other individuals who do the work across Aroostook County to help involved youth, their families, and their communities. So thank you both for joining me.
Pleasure to talk to you today.
All right, so let's start right from the top, because I'm sure that this is a concept that many folks who haven't had to interface with the program or who have any necessary understanding of what restorative justice is all about, to really learn from sort of the ground level what restorative justice is. And so Randy, let me begin with you with that question. Talk about restorative justice.
So the first thing to understand about restorative justice is that that phrase has only been around since the 80s. And it's a growing social science now, but has existed for thousands of years in indigenous communities here in North America, in New Zealand, and in other places of the world. So the concept is rooted in tradition and really focuses on relationships and community. And what we've seen in the justice system in Western society and in modern America is that we focus a lot on punishment and not enough on relationships. Restorative justice has some important factors, some parts of the approach that make for different flavors depending on the group involved. There's a great coalition of providers here in the state of Maine, and we all approach things a little bit differently, but with the same core values. And they are that we're inclusive. We include, when there's an incident of harm, everyone involved, from the person who caused the harm to the people affected, both directly and indirectly in a larger community context. We focus on having an encounter, which is what we call a circle, when we bring them together in a group and have a structured conversation to talk about the effects of the harm that's been done, more so than the rules that were broken. And again, that gets us to the next stage, which is making amends. And that's where we can come together and communally decide how to repair that harm. And the final stage is reintegration, where after the amendment, whatever shape the amends take, are completed, then we come together as the same group again to talk about how to move forward beyond this incident.
So Randy, this is really a much more holistic approach to working not only with individuals, but with the entire community, as opposed to necessarily just engaging with the juvenile justice system or justice system in general, as we have, for a number of years.
Yeah, and a great way to think about it is through the social discipline window, which has been adapted from Ted Wachtel. If you want to throw that slide up.
Absolutely, I have it right here. Let's do that.
Great. So on one side, you notice the word accountability. This can also be termed control or discipline or consequence. So imagine, down at the intersection, zero accountability and increasing in that dimension. Across the bottom of this window is support. And this can also be termed encouragement or even love, but this is what we offer to help get through problems. So where we sit traditionally in our justice system is we have high accountability and almost no support. And this brings us to that top punitive box. And the problem here is that we have all kinds of issues that have come along with our corrections and justice system that require transformation now, because we didn't realize the impacts further down the line when these systems were put in place. The bottom box there of neglect is when we don't offer any accountability or support. And this is maybe best characterized as a phrase like, oh, well, kids will be kids. They're just going to behave that way. Well, actually, they probably need some support, and they probably need to learn about accountability. Along that bottom axis, if we continue to not hold them accountable, but just increase support, this gets to this permissive state where we start making excuses on their behalf, and it gets us completely away from what underlying issues have taken place to bring them to the point of whatever the incident of harm was. So lastly, up in the green box in the corner, we have high accountability and high support. And this is really the heart of what restorative justice is, and what is most often misunderstood in the justice system is that we do not want to reduce accountability. We are not saying that people who commit incidents of harm shouldn't be held accountable. We want that accountability, but we also want to provide them the support to be able to make amends, to reintegrate back into their community and have stronger relationships as an outcome.
So let's bring, oh, sorry, Randy, I didn't mean to cut you off there. What were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, let's bring Brandi into the conversation now. Brandi, one of the things that Randy spoke about was the concept of these restorative circles, that you do, and I know that you've been engaged in them, and certainly this, like much of the work that we do here at ACAP, is done in a way that we protect the confidentiality of the individuals that we work with. So I certainly don't want to talk about any specific case, but if you could just sort of, Brandi, share with us the concept of the circle and what generally happens in a circle.
Sure. At the schools that I'm in right now, I generally go in and help the teachers and students build their relationships in the community within the classroom so that there are fewer incidents that happen within the school. But sometimes kids will be kids, I guess. And so when there are incidents that take place in the classroom or in the lunchroom or on the playground, then all the students that are involved in that incident, and either the teacher or the principal and I will sit down in a circle and we talk about what happened from each individual's perspective. And then from there, we talk about how in the future, if something comes up that's very similar, there are different steps that each student can take in order to avoid it from getting bigger, I guess. And then we also talk about how the incident affected each person, either mentally or emotionally or physically even sometimes, so that everyone that was involved can understand, oh, well, when this happens, this hurts this person or this affects this person for all these different reasons, in the hopes that it builds that empathy and they will consider that before doing something similar in the future, I guess.
So Randy, the school-based service is one of the services. Talk about the overarching services that are provided through restorative justice and specifically through the County Restorative Practices.
So we work through a grant called Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative. And this was set up by the Juvenile Justice Advisory Group at the Department of Corrections. And they looked at this emerging social science of restorative justice and have made a great effort to grow community-based restorative practices throughout the state. And in doing so, we offer an alternative to secure confinement when there are juvenile offenses. There are a couple of conditions that have to be met. First and foremost, the people involved have to take accountability for their actions. That's the first important step. Second, there needs to be representation from harmed parties. It doesn't have to be necessarily the direct person harmed in an event, but we need to have that perspective there. And also importantly is that we don't work directly for the Department of Corrections. We get our cases through juvenile community corrections officers, and we have them in the circles to represent that part of the picture. So the way that restorative justice can be most effective is if, as facilitators, we do not have any stake in the outcome. It's entirely up to the people in the process to determine what needs to be done and how to go about it. And that includes the youth themselves. And we offer them a chance to grow their voice, to speak up for themselves and what they are capable and willing to do, as well as we put the needs of the people who have been harmed first, which the traditional court system doesn't facilitate.
And to the point that you were making earlier, Randy, I'm certain that this can sort of change the trajectory of a youth's experience. I mean, the difference between having both the support and the accountability, as you were talking about through the image that we brought up on the screen in that true restorative practice. I mean, in general terms, what difference made have you seen as a result of working with involved youth?
It's been it's absolutely amazing and transformative, and that's why we do this work. And I think the important key part here to understand is the trauma that the youth may have been experiencing prior to this event or during this event. I know as an agency, ACAP strives to be trauma informed in all of our client encounters, and we know how adverse experiences can compound problems and challenges in life. To give you a sense, if we look at the ACEs study, the Adverse Childhood Experience Study, when it comes to a juvenile justice population, 93% of all juvenile justice cases respond with at least one adverse childhood experience, meaning that there's trauma in 93% of the cases. On average, a juvenile offender has 6 or more adverse childhood experiences. So really, I think the biggest impact we have is demonstrating that they are part of a larger community. There are people who care about their outcome in the future, and that just seeing them as a person and being able to hear their story and understand who they are, that makes the biggest difference. And I think what we see most in our responses afterwards is finally they get a sense that people care about their future.
And Brandi, you were talking earlier about the work done in schools. I'm imagining that the benefit in a school also extends beyond the individual student into the collective student body.
Correct. We thought it would be beneficial to kind of meet the students where they are so that we can maybe guide them on a different path so that they avoid the court system altogether. But also there are so many schools that are understaffed and the staff members are just so burnt out and worn out, and they've from what they've told me, a lot of them have lost that fire and that hope that they had when they first started teaching or working with students. And so by using the restorative approach within the school system, it helps to build that community and the relationships between the staff and the students so that by the end of the school year, everyone's leaving with a smile because they had a good school year and not because they're excited for summer.
And Randy, I imagine that brings a whole new preventative element to this work as well.
Yeah, and fortunately, the state of Maine itself has been great in this regard. Both the Department of Corrections and the Department of Education for the state of Maine are hiring restorative practice coordinators in the hopes that we can grow restorative justice from this juvenile side to include the adult side as well, and move into schools to make schools restorative and change not only the classroom interactions, but also the structures around suspensions and expulsions, which often lead to greater risk for the youth involved.
So it sounds like this is a dynamic and ever evolving practice.
Yeah, one of the things I like to explain is that restorative practices is not a what, it's not what we do, it's how we do it. It's how we go about the activities that involve, whether it's in a team at work, your home environment, how you interact with one another, or in the classroom, or in the courts. It's how we treat each other and how we go about doing what we do.
And I would imagine it's also very much, especially maybe the school work has some overarching generalities to it, but it sounds like the work that you do is very specific to the circumstance at hand and the individuals involved in a circle, for example. I know that the work extends beyond the circle, but the circle is a very pivotal part of it. So your preparation, brings in the overarching practice, but also really takes a deep dive into the specific instance.
Correct.
Yeah, but The thing is, restorative practice is a broad spectrum. So the justice side is a response to a particular incident of harm. And that's very structured, and we're very cautious about the risk to create further harm in any situation. But there's a lot we can do restoratively that isn't in responsive mode to an incident of harm. And that's where a lot of the work in the school comes in. Brandi, do you want to talk about check-in circles and impromptu circles?
Yeah, so at the beginning of every class that I go to, we do a check-in circle just to kind of get a feel of where everyone is on the whole spectrum of whole body wellness. And it also lets everyone say, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and gives other people an idea of what they should or should not say to someone based on that information. So it kind of helps the class grow together a little bit and support each other that way. And then when there's an incident, it's a little more like, let's deal with this now. What happened? How has it affected everyone? How can we keep this from happening again? So that support from the check-in circles, and then when we talk about topics of different varieties in the classrooms, that support flows into those incident circles, so that it's not a point finger at the person that caused harm, and we're not shaming them, but we're helping everyone understand and support each other through that incident, so that when it happens again, or if it happens again, then, you know, people, the students and the teachers can remind the person, hey, remember the last time that this happened, and support them again through that incident to where there's a completely different outcome.
And that you must see, just in the period of time from that check-in to the ending of that opportunity, a change in the environment in that room.
It has happened in a few different classrooms. It takes a different amount of time with each classroom based on, you know, whatever their demographics are, whatever's happening in the house, whatever is happening in the classroom. But to watch the students go from saying things just willy-nilly to hearing their teacher say, well, this is why I went into teaching, and I've actually reconsidered my career path, to seeing that instant understanding where they see what their actions are doing to their teacher, but the teacher also sees, you know, understands what the students are going through, because it's difficult to be a teenager. It was difficult being a teenager when I was a teenager, but now there's a pandemic that's going on, and there's so many other things that the youth are dealing with that I didn't have to deal with. And so it helps the students and teachers, like seeing them come together and reconnect and build that relationship. It in some cases it takes months to see that happen, and in others it's a few weeks, but when it happens, it is just, oh my God, the words that I want to use wouldn't even describe it, but it feels like there is this whole shift within the classroom, and then the interactions after that, they just flow naturally, but they are, you know, on the more positive side than when I first started.
Brandi, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was running through examples in my mind, and a very common one we see on the justice side is the dynamic between parents and the youth who have been caught up in maladaptive behaviors, as we call them. So often in our initial interviews, I hear parents say, you know, what my son or daughter did was stupid. I can't believe they were so stupid to have done that. And they don't even realize some of the time how that's being received by their child, hearing them talk about that way. When we sit down and we put at the center of the conversation the experience that the youth was going through at the time, very often there's an element of peer pressure. And this was why it's so great to have everyone included in the circle, because more often than not, someone from the community will then share about how they still experience peer pressure as adults, and that this is a common ground, a way to understand the experience of that youth. And when the parents come around and they realize that they have been saying these negative judgments instead of understanding the experience of their youth, there's a great element of growth there in their home dynamics as well.
So we've talked a lot about the practice, and one of the things I think we neglected to mention at the beginning was that this does extend this service, and the service that you and your team do, Randy, extends beyond the borders of just Aroostook County, correct?
Yeah, we are actually contracted with the DOC to cover most of Washington County as well.
Great. What else have we not talked about? I know we're going to talk about a way for people to sort of lend their voice to this greater conversation here in just a moment, but what else have we not talked about either county restorative practices or restorative justice in general that you wanted to make sure we got across to people? I'll start with you on that one, Randy, and then hear from you, Brandi.
Well, one of the things I will say is that we are available to talk about this further with anyone who's interested. How we serve in the restorative justice side through the juvenile court system is limited in structure, but we can also adapt to work with a team at a workplace, administration in a school, as well as the classrooms. So reach out. We're happy to talk more about it and come up with ideas and strategies, because it's really all about building that community in whatever size or shape that takes. And the other thing I wanted to mention was that I've also seen in this, perhaps Brandi could delve in on more, is that it's been a great partnership to be part of ACAP, because as I said before, with the experiences of multiple sources of trauma, all the other services ACAP provides is a great resource to have in our tool bag as we're going through and trying to figure out what support is needed, whether it's housing assistance, food assistance, or even tobacco cessation. So we have a great arsenal to bring to the table. So please reach out.
Great, good to hear that, Brandi.
I think the only thing that I would like to say also is that in the work that I've been doing in the schools, it's amazing to see the changes that students and teachers make and see those relationships grow. One thing that it has brought to my attention, though, is that there are so many youth in our county and teachers as well that are struggling with their mental well-being. And so thanks to the behavioral health specialists at ACAP, we have Julia Masek that comes into one of the schools with me, and she sits down and she does one-on-one work with some of the students, which is fantastic, because as I get to know these students, I get to hear some of their backstories and their personal stories and what they're struggling with in the moment, and to hear what children are going through and teenagers are going through is just heartbreaking. But to have Julia there to work with them and help them with their mental health is just, it's fantastic to see the children make changes once they get to sit down and talk with Julia as well. So not only are we working on the community building within the classrooms themselves, the students are getting some much needed mental health help that is just so hard to come by these days.
Indeed, there aren't enough Julias out there, but it's great to hear both from that connection on the behavioral health side, but also to hear what you had to say, Randy, in terms of the other social determinants of health, if you will, that sort of obviously stand as an impediment in terms of family development. So great to hear both of those things. Randy, I know that you wanted to share with us that there's a way for folks to sort of lend voice to where this work goes next statewide.
Yeah, so we are very evidence focused in our pursuits from the statewide level. And currently the Cutler Institute at the University of Southern Maine has an active survey for survivors of crimes. So if you have been on the receiving side of a crime, if you've been involved in an incident of harm, Please follow this link and share your experience. It's completely anonymous and will really help inform the larger picture of what's going on in the state.
Great. And so certainly folks can also go to the Cutler Institute site, and I'm sure that they can launch it right off of that if they haven't been able to catch it right off the screen. Just think of the Cutler Institute. All right. Well, with that, I'm so glad that we were able to have this opportunity to connect on this important program that's growing and connecting with folks in different ways than the initial Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative program that was begun several years ago here at ACAP. Nice to hear the engagement happening with schools and that justice-involved youth are continuing to be served through this holistic practice. So thank you both so much for being my guests and for the great conversation today. Before we leave all of you out there, we want to do as we do at each point in the program to remind you that we here at ACAP are looking for some folks to join our team. We have a number of positions that are open throughout Aroostook County, as you can see here, from Central Aroostook, Southern Aroostook, and not a position in Northern Aroostook right now. Randy actually is from the northern part of our county, but serves, as he indicated, all the way to Washington County. But if you are interested or think that you have the opportunity to be a productive voice and to help us with any of these services, we have community outreach positions, we have community educator positions, and positions working in our early care and education programs in various ways. We encourage you to look at our website, visit us on our Facebook page to learn more about these opportunities and see if there's something you're interested in and have the talent to join our team. We'd love to have more people on our team, and we have a record number of open positions at this point because we're both a growing agency and because of the really tight labor market right now. So please do consider joining. We have some great benefits and great people like Brandi and Randy to work with. So we encourage you to consider an application to ACAP for employment. And lastly, as we do at each point at the end of our broadcast, we provide you with a snapshot of the week, and we've been providing throwback snapshots in this, our 50th anniversary year of 2022. This one actually takes us up north to Fort Kent. This was the official sort of rebranding, if you will, of ACAP, then family planning services that were transitioned into Health First. These services continue to be offered, but are run directly by the state now and not through a contract with ACAP. But for a long period of time, family planning and Health First services were under the ACAP umbrella. This ribbon cutting ceremony hosted by the Greater Fort Kent Chamber of Commerce at our then Fort Kent location for these services, which, if I'm correct, were the former Maine Public Service Building location. This was held in 1993, and see some familiar faces there in that photo from the former executive director of the Chamber of Commerce all the way on the left, Jerry Robinson, to ACAP's former CEO, my predecessor, Connie Sandstrom, there second from left. So we certainly acknowledge that as part of our important history in the first 50 years of ACAP service to Aroostook County, and thank all of our former family planning and Health First employees for their contributions to making life better here in Aroostook County. With that, that's this week's edition of ACAP Today. We'll be back next week with another edition where we'll talk about a new ACAP program yet again. So we'll see you then. Have a great week, everyone.